Hello, I'm Rod Parnell, Professor Emeritus of Earth and Sustainability at Northern Arizona University and a Senior Fellow with the National Council for Science and the Environment. I'm the moderator for this session on key competencies in sustainability, areas of convergence, and next steps. A key question for employers, students, educators, and administrators is what competencies sustainability programs should develop in students. We present results from research addressing key competencies in sustainability and their implications for curriculum design and careers. NCSE's Community of Practice on Key Competencies in Sustainability degree programs explored this issue through an expert-based international Delphi study, through webinars and workshops at professional meetings, collaborations with experts in a National Academies Committee, and experts in new and evolving fields, such as educating future change agents. We've collected a broad range of perspectives and also drafted a consensus statement on key competencies in sustainability. The goal of this project is to reach a wide consensus on basic skills, abilities, and attitudes for sustainability students that are critical for the development of a rigorous academic field and for program development and administration. We strive for a process that is advisory and not prescriptive, that's dynamic and not static. Our objective here is to review a basic set of related key competencies in sustainability, including learning objectives. Why core competencies? A consensus agreement on critical components can better define the nature of sustainability education to inform university administrators, students and parents, potential employees, and potential funders. It can provide a means of integrating a broad range of perspectives to develop a comprehensive approach and a shared language. This facilitates comparing programs, which is of use to both students and prospective employers. We can create a shared framework of reference and quality standards, both which would increase credibility and professional trust. Why NCSE? It's an organization that focuses on program level development, administration, and operation of higher education sustainability and environmental academic programs. We have over 100 academic institutions as university affiliate members and a community of practice well established in sustainability learning outcomes. In an internal draft statement of consensus across NCSE, we summarize what we mean by 3 key parameters of a learning system for a modern profession: key competency frameworks, learning objectives, and learning approaches. We've reviewed research on key competencies in sustainability, focused on the most utilized key competencies framework, and now propose future activities based upon this consensus. Our next steps, including here, are to reach out to sustainability professionals and organizations and to develop and approve a consensus statement on key competencies in sustainability. We would then implement this process and educate interested parties through an ongoing webinar series. The speakers today are Dr. Katja, Dr. Christopher Boone, and Dr. Matthias Barth. I'll introduce them now.
Hello, my name is Katja Brundiers. I'm a clinical assistant professor at the School of Sustainability at the College of Global Futures at Arizona State University. And my background is rooted in 2 areas. For one, I've worked on sustainability education on topics like key competencies in sustainability, real-world and applied learning, professional skills in sustainability, as well as transdisciplinary partnerships involving students, community partners, and faculty members. My other area of research and applied work is at the intersections of disasters and sustainability. And specifically with our partners in Arizona and Puerto Rico, we are exploring how disasters create opportunities for sustainability and how to leverage these opportunities to build better, fairer, greener, and more just systems and livelihoods. So most recently, I've started to bring these 2 areas together in efforts to develop courses and programs that integrate disaster science and sustainability science education. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Chris Boone. I am the Dean of the College of Global Futures and a professor in the School of Sustainability at Arizona State University. My great pleasure to talk to you today about a recent report that I'm a co-author on with the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine on strengthening sustainability education.
Hi, my name is Matthias Barth. I'm working at Leuphana University in Lüneburg, Germany, and I'm a professor of education for sustainable development, which brings me clearly to sustainability competences as being at heart of what I'm doing in research as well as in teaching. And I'm really glad that I will be able to, or that I'm invited to introduce you to some of our work we are doing in a project called Educating Future Change Agents.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this presentation. We are presenting here the results of a Delphi study with 14 international experts in sustainability education on the framework of key competencies in sustainability science. And this framework was synthesized from the literature and published in 2011 by Professors Wieck, Widdicombe, Keeler, and Redman. We use this framework as a reference point because among the existing frameworks of key competencies in sustainability, it is the most frequently cited to date. Why this study? Over the past decade, the number of sustainability programs in higher education has grown significantly. For example, for the US alone, Vincent and colleagues found in a study in 2017 that this number has increased in just 4 years by 15%. So in 2016, there were 2,361 programs offered by 872 institutions. And in parallel, projections for the US sustainability labor market through to 2024 also suggest a growth of about 10% in the existing sustainability labor market that was reported by Johnson and colleagues in 2019. However, it remains a challenge for employers, students, educators, and program administrators to clearly articulate what competencies these programs develop in students. To provide the necessary clarity, Glass and Hirsch argue that it is now the time to work on what they call broadly acceptable detailed descriptions of key competencies in sustainability. There is value in creating a shared frame of reference and quality standards. For example, it enables credibility and professional trust in sustainability programs. It would provide a shared language around program level learning objectives, and it would facilitate both comparability of programs and an increased understanding of what sustainability graduates can offer to society. Recognizing this need, the National Council for Science and the Environment launched a Delphi study to inform its effort of preparing a consensus statement on key competencies in sustainability as another way to foster sustainability programs in higher education in the USA. So against this background, I'll present now some select findings of the study. And just to remind everyone, the study explored two key questions. The first one is, to what extent does the group of experts agree upon the framework of key competencies in sustainability from Wieck et al. 2011, which includes a basic definition of each competency, B, an overall rationale, the relationships among the competencies, and C, a set of learning objectives for each competency. Second, what additions, differentiations, and deletions to this framework do experts suggest? So this image here presents the refined framework. In general, experts agreed on the framework, and they made important refinements to the definitions of the competencies as well as to the learning objectives. And one of the first findings was that they really emphasized the integrated problem-solving competency, which enables students to functionally integrate all competencies with each other. This is illustrated through the blue line. This integrated set facilitates achieving successful performance and a positive outcome that progress sustainability. And I should mention that the competencies in this visual are visualized through the icons, and they are mapped to the steps of one possible sustainability problem-solving process. A second finding is expert suggestion to recognize values thinking as a lead competency. This would help clarify values embedded in all other competencies. It would reinforce the integrated nature of the framework and the specific role of each of its competencies, while not diminishing the role of any of the competencies. Giving such a normative sustainability orientation to all competencies gives the framework also a distinct and applied purpose. One expert argued that the key is really to use the constellation of competencies to leverage and apply them towards sustainability values as they're expressed, for example, in the Sustainable Development Goals. This expert also stressed that the competencies alone, without being placed in the sustainability context, can be utilized for distinctly unsustainable, nefarious purposes and lead at the end to very unsustainable outcomes. So the third finding is that experts propose 2 additional competencies, which are illustrated through the red boxes. The intrapersonal competency involves self-awareness, which is defined as the ability to reflect on one's positionality, one's role in the local community and in the global society. Also to continually evaluate and motivate one's actions and to deal with one's feelings and desires. While the experts agreed that the intrapersonal competency underpins all other competency in the same way like the interpersonal competency does, which is illustrated through the orange bar at the bottom, the experts were actually split regarding how to treat the intrapersonal competency. One group of experts was arguing it is a competency, and the other group of experts was more reluctant and was arguing it is more of a mindset than a competency. So more research needs to be done on refining that distinction. The implementation competency then takes the result from the problem-solving process, which really is a thought product, and implements this proposed solution on the ground in order to make a difference on the ground. So compared to the other thinking competencies, the implementation competency literally is an action competency. And also here, more research is needed on further defining the implementation competency, operationalizing it, and also thinking what does this actually mean to the mission and pursuits of academia. So to conclude, this Delphi study was conducted to explore any evidence around the convergence of key competencies in sustainability. We hope that these results provide another step forward in articulating these competencies and also to drive curriculum development, implementation, and evaluation, as well as enhance the employability and the effectiveness of graduates from sustainability programs worldwide. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to our discussion later on. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chris Boone. I am the Dean of the College of Global Futures and a professor in the School of Sustainability at Arizona State University. My great pleasure to talk to you today about a recent report that I'm a co-author on with the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine on strengthening sustainability education. I had the honor of serving on this committee with 5 other individuals. I'd like to recognize quickly the chair, Ann Kapuscinski, University of Santa Cruz, Garrick Louis at the University of Virginia, Aaron Brahmajam, the City of LA Mayor's Office, Arun Agrawal at the University of Michigan, and Dorceta Taylor at Yale University. This committee was charged with trying to create an assessment of what we thought were needs to strengthen sustainability education programs across the country, motivated in part by the explosion of sustainability programs across the United States and around the world. And on the one hand, this is welcome. On the other hand, it raises some concerns about whether or not sustainability has core meaning in these programs, if it's something that as a concept and an idea and set of principles is taken seriously, or at worst, if it's just a label that some colleges and universities might be using to increase enrollment. So hopefully very few of the latter. Nevertheless, it's a chance for us to think through what we thought were key elements for trying to build a sense of what a coherent idea of a strong sustainability program should be. So I'm going to give you a link to the report at the end. This report was just released last month. I'm going to go over some of the recommendations of the report. I don't have time to go over all of them. The first, which I think will be a welcome one to this community, is we recognize the importance of developing a set of core competencies and capacities. There's been important work done by the NCSE, including some of my fellow panelists in this session, have done really important work in advancing the idea of core competencies and what we also call capacity. So not just having the knowledge and the capability, but providing students with the capacities to actually demonstrate that they're able to use these core competencies in addressing the complex sustainability problems that we face. A related idea is the committee saw great strength in using problem-based and solutions-oriented learning. This is in part because it's very difficult to segment out the knowledge sets that are necessary to understand complex social, ecological, technological systems. But if we present a problem or a challenge, or most importantly, ask students to think about solutions to a wicked problem, this allows them to bring together all of the core competencies and capacities and to use that in a constructive way to start getting at, hopefully, what we think are solutions to these problems. The third is to, within programs, is to promote the idea that students can serve as change agents. And this is important for sustainability in general, in that we typically do not accept the status quo. We believe that the trajectories that we're on in some cases are not sustainable, and we need to do something to intervene in those, to bend the curve, to change directions, to lead to new pathways. And so we need to instill in the idea in students that they themselves as individuals and as groups and as collectives can affect change. And one of the ways to do that is through experiential learning. So whether that's internships, if it's engaging with the real world, bringing them in, offering students to work on service learning opportunities, working with communities, we need to instill in them, the committee believes, the idea that they can actually create change. A fourth recommendation of the report is that diversity, equity and inclusion have to be seen as core concepts, not as nice to haves, but as core concepts fundamental to our understanding what sustainability is and how it's practiced. So that's everything from the curricula to the engagement of diverse communities, whether they're students, staff, faculty, or partners. These are fundamental, and it's not just an issue of what's moral and what's right, but the committee also understood from the work that we did and from the workshops that we held that this was also just a smart way of doing things. If we leave out, do not include diverse voices, number one, we may not be working on the right kinds of problems, and we may not be engaging with diversity of ideas that allow us to reach everyone, not just a small segment of the world's population. The fifth recommendation, or a fifth recommendation, was that universities and colleges need to have a demonstrated commitment to a very inclusive interdisciplinary approach. So it can't be tucking away sustainability just within, let's say, engineering or in economics or in public policy, that it seems to work best when it's something that's engaged with by the entire university. And because that's the case, there has to be strong support, we found, at the senior leadership level, because those are the levels at which leaders can incorporate, encourage, and incentivize entire institutions, not just segments of it. Another recommendation was to increase federal support for these kinds of programs. The explicit recommendation is a reauthorization of the Higher Education Sustainability Act, which was first passed in 2008. And we think that this is especially important for institutions that may not have the resources to start new programs like sustainability programs. So minority serving institutions, we think, should be a really important and key target. We think that research needs to be done as well on the field, including what is effective pedagogy and sustainability. How can we develop a coherent sense of what program level learning outcomes should be, and how do we assess those? We need more data on sustainability jobs. The committee found what it was looking for these kinds of data. It's been very hard to track. At the moment, the data collection is very spotty. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has talked about collecting data on sustainability jobs, but is yet to do so. So we need some research on what's happening with our students when they graduate. What kinds of careers are they taking on? What kind of pathways are they paving for themselves and others? And then finally, we think there needs to be some serious consideration of the post-UN SDG 2030 goals. So what's coming next, and how can universities play a role in thinking about what they could be, and how the university and college committee can contribute to achieving whatever the next round of our global goals might be for sustainability. And then finally, we had a lot of discussion on the professionalization of sustainability. There are several organizations, including NCSE, that are grappling with this. But what are the next steps that we need in order to create an association that can look after one another, share best practices, and then hopefully help to reinforce not just these recommendations, but other recommendations that come from the committee about the importance and role of sustainability in higher education. So for those of you who'd like to see the full report, you can download it at the National Academy's website. You can click on this QR code. If you're quick with your phone, you can take a snapshot of that, but you can also find it at nap.edu. You can buy the physical book, but if you look on the top right-hand side of your screen, download free PDF, you can download it for free there as well. And I'd really love to hear, as with the rest of the committee, any comments or thoughts that you might have. Thank you for listening today.
Hi, my name is Matthias Barth from Leuphana University, and I'm really glad to have the chance today to present you some of the ideas and our thoughts in the project Educating Future Change Agents, a project which I did together with my colleague Arnim Wieg and others, both from Arizona State University in the US and Leuphana University in Germany, which I dare to say two of the front runners / innovators who at least try to think outside the box when it comes to higher education and sustainability. And together we've been interested in that project in better understanding the links between learning processes on one side and learning outcomes, intended learning outcomes on the other side when it comes to sustainability education. So our sort of leading question in that project that ran over the last 4 years, and it just ended in September 2020, our main question was of what empirical supported insights we can derive that can guide university instructors and administrators alike in initiating or establishing sustainability courses and curricula. So it was for us the micro and the macro level to best support the development of key competencies in sustainability. We did this looking in comparative case studies from the university, Arizona State University on one side and Leuphana University on the other side. And we contrasted these case studies and we looked basically across 3 areas. Sustainability science, because this is where we educate the experts we expect to be future change agents. But also teacher education is a more traditional discipline where we've been interested in how can we bring that into this discipline, and where obviously, we are educating people who will have a huge impact on future generations, and in formats in sustainability entrepreneurship, because this is where we expect those who really want to think outside the box, who are innovators and who try to do things differently. And in all 3 of these formats, we've been interested really in better understanding what needs to happen and what happens in learning processes when sustainability key competencies as learning outcomes should be developed. So this is the micro level of different disciplines and case studies. We also had a macro level. We've been interested in, better understanding drivers and barriers of sustainability curricula. So we did on a global scale, we did a comparative study, a quantitative study of drivers and barriers of sustainability curricula across the globe, more than 200 different cases, to really distill certain patterns of implementation of sustainability into the curriculum and to better understand, what is needed to support such an implementation and what hinders such an implementation. And in our results, we basically come up with 5 distinct patterns of implementation where we can really now better understand of what are sort of the leverage points, the potential leverage points where we can really make a change, where we can work towards a better support of sustainability as an implementation into the curriculum. Let's go back to the micro level. We basically worked in our project in 3 distinct phases. We first did a critical reflection on the concept of key competencies. We did a validation and a contextualization to not only further develop that concept for sustainability science, but also to understand what does that mean in teacher education and in entrepreneurship education. Then we did comparative studies focusing on the learning process. And we now can much better describe what are distinct design features in such a learning process that really support the development of key competencies. And in a third phase in our project, we brought these experiences together from the different case studies, from the macro level analysis, did a triangulation so that we now really can talk about key principles of how to best instill sustainability in curricula and in learning and teaching formats to really support key competences. And if we will together have the chance to discuss some of these insights and some of these key principles, I would be more than happy and looking very much forward to. Thank you very much.